Animating a slide-in banner. Now that we've built a handy JavaScript utility that attaches a class to visible elements, we could reuse this to create a slide-in banner that will appear at the end of the page. In this lesson, we'll see how a simple utility that adds a class can give us a handy hook for different styles of animation, and we'll consider some other scroll animation frameworks that we might want to investigate if we need more advanced animations. To get started, open the Module 3 sample code file and look for folder 02 start. A completed version of this lesson's code is in the folder 02 end. We'll begin with the code from lesson 1. We have a long page with an article all about making pizza. What we'd like to do is have a prompt appear at the end to encourage people to read more articles. Using animation for this will be helpful, as we'd like to call attention to the next article. If the link was just sitting there at the bottom of the page, it could be easier to miss. Let's begin with some HTML. In our index.html file, add a new section to the bottom. We're going to position this using absolute positioning so that it slides in beside this last image. We give the section the class nextArticle, and we'd like this to also show on scroll. Inside the section, we'll add a heading and some text, as well as a link to the next article. I'm using the pound symbol here for testing, but you'll want to use a URL instead. With the HTML added, let's style this element. At the top of the HTML, I've added a link to a new style sheet called slidein.css. We'll use this file for the styles specific to the slide-in element. Currently, this file is empty, so let's style up the next article section. We begin with some basic styling: a white background, a box shadow to match the inline photo elements, and some padding. We want this to sit on the side of the page, so we'll use absolute positioning with right set to 0. For a bit of fun, we'll rotate this 5 degrees and translate the whole thing to the right 500 pixels. This will set it outside the page initially, so that we can animate it onto the page later. Next, we'll add a transition for it, transitioning all properties over 0.5 seconds with a 1 second delay, and the exponential ease out timing function. Lastly, we'll give it a width and set the Z index so that it will sit in front of the other content, such as the inline photo next to it. So far, so good. The section will be invisible, hidden off the side of the page at first. Let's now style it for when it needs to be visible. We set up the styles for the next article class when it also has the isVisible applied. Our handy JavaScript show on scroll utility will add this for us. When visible, we want it to rotate up as it slides in from the right. We can do this by setting the rotate Z to a positive 5 degrees and adjusting the translate from 500 pixels to 50. In the browser, we can now scroll to the bottom of the page and see the result. Since we're really just adding a class to an element once it's visible, there's a lot we can do with CSS at this point. Do experiment and find your own ideas for scroll-triggered animations. You might want to have a keyframe-based animation that goes through a sequence of steps and should always start from the beginning. You could even add in a transition as well that fades the animating element into view. Maybe you could have a series of frames from a video set out as an image sprite, and when it comes into view, play the animation using the steps timing function, essentially creating a video preview that plays just when needed. Have a go and see what you can come up with. Before we leave this example, it could be worth thinking about other frameworks that help trigger animations on scroll. Our example here is deliberately simple. It doesn't come with any built-in animations or transitions. It just adds a class and lets us create the animations we need on top. But if you're looking for more, one excellent tool is Scroll Magic. Scroll Magic is a JavaScript framework that makes use of plugins and supports situations where you might want to attach an animation to the speed of scrolling, as well as trigger various animations when they appear on screen. Another example is Animate on Scroll. This is primarily for when you want to animate something into view on scroll, and it comes with a wide range of pre-built animations for you to use, such as fading, flipping, and zooming. If you want something quick and handy, I'd recommend using this as it will save time building the basic animations. In this lesson, we learned how to reuse our handy little JavaScript tool to show a slide-in banner on scroll. We saw how an eye-catching animation could be put together with very little code. And we explored other ways this could be useful in our projects, as well as other frameworks we might want to use. Next up, we'll take off to space and explore how we can make use of Relax to create a parallax scrolling effect.